Hey, watch until the end of the video for a thumbs up. Um, Something that I remember back in the day with the whole anime and manga community was was kind of like an elitist mentality of it's better in the manga, it's better in the manga, it's all better in the manga. And I think when I initially heard this on like a large scale, where it was all over the place, it was almost like a meme, was Tokyo Ghoul. Um, so, now that I'm a little older and I actually care a little more and thought I don't know, maybe it'd be fun. There was a point, I guess, where it was kind of like, is it? Is it better in the manga? I don't know. Everyone says it. And so I pretty much read the whole manga, the entire thing. Now I know there's probably a snob out there who's like, that's not the whole manga. Yeah. Yeah, no. It's not the whole manga. No, it's not the whole manga. No. And I'm sure there's more snobs out there and blah blah blah, and you're like, oh, you didn't read it all. It was, yeah, no. I didn't read it all. I didn't read it all at all. No. I probably have more somewhere, but frankly speaking, I don't think I need to put more on my shelf. Otherwise, it's going to snap in two. So, what's the point in laying all this out? Well, I'm going to take this off before my shelf explodes. I read the manga, and I wanted to show that I read the manga. And I kind of just wanted to give brief thoughts on, were they right back in the day? Was it actually better in the manga? And, I don't want to go crazy with this video. I do this YouTube stuff for fun. And, bought this mostly because I wanted it on my shelf. It's just iconic. But, yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. Not, in depth or anything. I mean, it's just going to be briefly, maybe looking at some of the cover art and just talking about some of my opinions. Is this better? And I think there's no better place to start than basically the first season. And here's the deal, okay? Here's the deal. The anime starts off pretty good. I really can't complain, about a lot of this. There is, however, a big caveat to that. When we start getting into like later stuff where we're looking at, Kaneki's he's the cool like antagonist bad guy. Oh my god, he's like the anti-hero. He's so cool. When you see this, and if you've only watched the anime, you probably think, oh, he joins Aogiri. He joins Aogiri Tree, right? No. No, he doesn't. I think that's probably one of the biggest, differences here, just like the critical changes, I guess, between the manga and the anime. He just doesn't. That never even happens. And I think it's like a critical flop, because you're thinking to yourself, this guy is, getting messed up by Aogiri Tree. Like, they're terrible people. You're seeing all of this garbage happen to him, and then he's just like, I'm gonna join them. What? That just doesn't happen here. He basically makes his own organization, goes off, and is kind of, just like his own group to help Anteku and all that. It's like a super divergent path. And I'm looking at like the story, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, how does it shift this much? It's such like a big, massive shift between like what exactly is happening there and what's happening later. It's just like, what? And I think that was probably the one that stood out the most to me. It definitely hit like, how did they mess this up this bad? like, don't get me wrong, the whole, like, Aogiri tree stuff is cool, and he still has, like, some interactions with Edo and all that, but, like, it's so off-pace. Him joining them and doing all that stuff, it's like, what? By the way, Noro's really cool. I love him. He's, like, my favorite character. He doesn't even talk. He's just so cool. Anyway, it's one of those things where I'm thinking to myself, like, how do they go off pace this hard? Like, I don't know. Throughout the story, it's all fine and well and all that. But it's just like, they go off the books with the Aogiri stuff so much, it's insane. By the way, the art's so good. I love the covers, if anything. Like, the art, you know, the actual quality of Tokyo Ghoul's art's, like, it's pretty good. But, specifically speaking, the covers are incredibly well done. They're so stylized and colorful and just, oh, so good. But I just, oh man, I love the covers. But it's one of those things where it's like, how do you go that far off pace with a story? Another big thing is when we're nearing, you know, the end, right? We're getting to the end. It just, the anime does not know what it's doing half the time. Hide, the whole meme walk that I showed at the start doesn't really make that much sense with how it's delivered. Not necessarily, because I feel like they make it seem a lot more like, oh yeah, he's dead. Which, spoiler alert, he's not. So it really doesn't make that much sense as to why he would be, you know. It felt like it was way more confirmed in the anime versus the manga. And I mean, I don't know. It's just like, it feels really off pace. But those are the two big like the big changes and things like that. And frankly speaking, here's what I'll say. Is the manga better? Yes. But RE, if we're shifting tracks and we're going over to RE, right? I don't really think that the anime version is like dog shit compared to this, because RE is just not that interesting to begin with. And I'm gonna go into some points as to why RE kind of annoys me, frankly. I'm really into systems and stories like guilds and rankings and things like that. And something in Tokyo Ghoul would be rankings, right? And something about that is like, oh, okay, well, we have the owls and the one-eyed ghouls, and oh man, they're so powerful. But I think that, like, there's a critical thing where power scaling kind of goes out the window at some point. Even people like Uta or whatever, like, they're often, you know, brought up as like extremely, you know, powerful characters and things like that. But in reality, they kind of end up being fodderized later on, and other characters are brought up a lot. I think like Sachi is one of those characters where, like, Sachi's so cool when he's initially, you know, brought up in like Cochlea and all that stuff, and he's like this, you know, this super powerful ghoul. But then he gets like fodderized by all of Arima's guys, and it's kind of like, who cares about him? And at some point, I have to kind of think of, like, you know, how does this power scaling work? Well, they just kind of do what they want, when they want, and whenever. And there's really not a lot of logic to it. They'll kind of just like, oh, they need a guy to be powerful? He's powerful. I don't know. Juzo, I think, is a kind of a weird example as well. Like, Juzo, from every... Listen, I did read this a bit ago, so maybe I missed something. I'm not going to deny it, but as far as I know, Juzo doesn't really have any ghoul in him. But his physicality is, even without armor or any sort of like, you know, Kakaja-based weaponry, things like that. He's still able to beat ghouls, which are, even at like the bare minimum level, able to like be stabbed and not even take any damage, basically. And he's able to do this without that equipment. That's a little weird. I feel like power scaling wise, that really goes off the mark. So he himself is a little strange to me. Other characters that I can think of, Toka's dad is really weird. I don't think there's a cover art of Toka's dad, but he's extremely weird because he's extraordinarily powerful. The problem is, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. They're just like, oh yeah, Toka's dad is like one of the most threatening ghouls ever to exist. And it's like, what? Like, how is Toka's dad one of the most threatening ghouls ever? Does that really make any sense? He ate like dead bodies all the time, but he has like a Kakaja, which is like, I don't know. He has all these abilities that are basically thought of to like only be with owls. And it's like, how does he have that? It's just... Listen, I'm sure there's some deep lore explanation for certain things, but if they don't show up in the actual story, I feel like they're not going to work that well. Do I even want to talk about him? He's something. He's something. I could probably make a whole video about him, and I probably will in the future if you want it. So I'm not going to do that here. But the whole thing to me is just like the illogical nature of the series at some points, where it's just like, why do you need to, you know, make random characters more powerful than they realistically should be? Is there any point in doing that? No. And I think it throws off a lot of the series. I'm thinking, you know, endgame Tokyo Ghoul, like when we're really getting to the end. There are points where random characters will show up that are just bodying other characters. Just absolutely demolishing characters that they really shouldn't. And then power will just randomly skip to the other way, and then they'll get bodied. So it really makes zero sense at the end of the day. It gets so wacky, just random, like, who the hell cares what's going on at the end? And listen, if you're into that, you're into that. I'm not saying it's terrible or whatever. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the world. I'm just saying it annoys me, and I think it's a blight on the entire series. I even think the anime might be worse on that too, because I think that they upped Sachi's ranking. Like, I think Sachi was like a... He was either an S or... No, he might have been a double S, but he wasn't a triple S. Because in the original run, I mean, really, there were only like 2 triple S schools that we actually saw. But then, for some reason... Well, I know why. They wanted to make Arima look better, and all of his guys. So they basically just said, okay, we're gonna make like a really... Like, we're gonna make Sachi like a jobber. We're going to make Sachi, you know, he was so cool in the last one. And, you know, we already saw how cool he was, but now we need to make him job as well. So he's just going to get bodied by another character. And then, you know, that's just making me think, like, why even, you know, have him as a character? Like, he had to job to Arima's little crew. But okay, yeah, let's make him even, you know, oh man, he has a higher rating now. Ooh, so scary. It's just like, why? Why do you have to do that? I just, overall, here's what I'll say. The manga is better. It is. I think definitively speaking, the manga is better. But if we're saying, like, oh, it's so much better, no, it's not. I like it. It's fun. I love the art. The covers are great. They're so good on my shelf. But It is not some godly masterpiece where if you go to the manga, you're just going to be like, whoa, it's perfect now. No. And, you know, as much as I'd love to say it is, it's not. I think they do silly things, characters make illogical choices at times. The power system they themselves created doesn't make that much sense. Especially because, you know, so another thing, Toka's dad, he ate dead ghouls, and he had a high power rating. The way they expressed it in the series is that a ghoul's actions also impact their power rating. So there's like Big Madam, for example, or whatever the hell her name was. She was not really that powerful, but they expressly stated in the series that because she had a lot of influence, she had a higher ranking. So wouldn't the reverse kind of happen as well? Someone who might be a little more powerful might be given a lower ranking because they're just not as important? And Toka's dad, like, he was like a shitter. and they were like, we have to kill him. He has to die. It's like, what? Why? I don't know. It's just one of those things where I find it so silly that this is how they're going to go about the series. Overall, if you want me to rank Tokyo Ghoul, I guess, I'd probably... Here's the deal. I like the art, I like the style, and I think it's a fun read. So I'd still give it... I'd probably give it an 8. Because it's fun, it's enjoyable, and even though I say that there's all these big complaints, they're more so like little things that just annoy me. It's a good series overall. The thing is, I don't think it's necessarily special. It's more so just, I like it. So if I'm being more objective, it'd probably be closer to a 7. But yeah, I don't know, I think that's about it. I'd appreciate if you could like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah. And yeah, I think that's about it. Leave your, you know, comments below and everything. Also, if anyone knows what this is from, I don't feel like looking it up, but there was a board game that used pieces like this, and they had like little hexagon tiles that you could put the pieces on and like connect them and things like that. And I was trying to... I can't think of what the board game's called, but they had these little pieces and like, I don't know, they were so cool looking, and I wanted to get the actual board game again, but I couldn't. So yeah, I don't know. If you know what these are called, or what the board game is called, or whatever, please let me know. And, yeah, I mean, I think that's about it. Yeah. I'll see ya.